Warren Buffett is one of the most famous investors of all time and one of the richest people on the planet. Ronald Read was a janitor and a gas station attendant in Vermont. These two people seemingly couldn't have anything less in common. But what if I told you that the stories of these two very different people hold the secret of what it takes to become a millionaire and accumulate massive amounts of wealth, and is something that can actually be implemented by you? Yes, you. Warren Buffett has a net worth of over $120 billion and is widely regarded as one of the best investors of all time. But the secret to his massive amounts of wealth has nothing to do with how skillful of an investor he is. Enter Ronald Read, born just 9 years before Warren Buffett, but into an entirely different world. Where Warren Buffett grew up as the son of a US congressman, Ronald Read grew up poor as the son of a farmer. Warren Buffett went to Wharton and later Columbia Business School and was mentored by Benjamin Graham, an investor so legendary he actually wrote the book on investing. Ronald Read walked 4 miles to school and back each day in order to become the first member of his family to get a high school education. Throughout his teenage years, Warren Buffett was involved in owning and operating several different kinds of small businesses. He owned and operated pinball machines and owned a stake in a 40-acre farm by the time he graduated high school. By the age of 35, Warren Buffett had full control of Berkshire Hathaway, the company he continues to run today, nearly 60 years later. Ronald Read served in World War II until he was honorably discharged in 1945. After returning home from the war, he worked as a gas station attendant in Vermont for the next 25 years, until he retired for a year, and then resumed work part-time as a janitor at a JCPenney for the next 17 years. Obviously, these two had very different upbringings and very different career paths, but there is something that ties them together. They were both very wealthy. That's right, Ronald Read, gas station attendant and janitor, was a multi-millionaire. When Ronald Read died in 2014, his friends, his neighbors, and his family were all shocked to learn that Ronald had accumulated a fortune of over $8 million during his lifetime. Good for him, you say. But what's that got to do with Warren Buffett? Or with me? Well, it's because Ronald Read accumulated his wealth the same way that Warren Buffett actually accumulated most of his, and the same way you can accumulate wealth for you and your family. Yes, Warren Buffett has been a better investor than you or I will ever be, probably for his entire life. But consider this alternate reality for Warren. Imagine that Warren Buffett had led a more traditional life, spending his teenage years and early 20s going to school and figuring out exactly what the heck he wanted to do with his life.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Let's say in this scenario, Warren hits age 30 with roughly the median net worth of a 30-year-old, about $40,000. He then discovers that he is an amazingly skilled investor and goes on to achieve the same mind-blowing results he has in real life, about 22% annually, about 3x the S&P 500 average. He does this for the next 30 years until he turns age 60. And like most 60-year-olds, he decides to retire, spend time with his grandkids, play a little golf. What would his fortune be in this scenario? Certainly not $120 billion. Try roughly $15.5 million. 99.9% less than the fortune he's actually amassed. He'd still be very rich and achieved returns that no mortal investor could ever dream of returning over a 30-year time span. But I guarantee you, in this scenario, you or I never ever would have heard the name Warren Buffett. He'd just be another anonymous rich guy living on a golf course in Florida. The truth about Warren Buffett is that 99.7% of all the wealth he has ever accumulated has been accumulated after the age of 50. Over 90% of his wealth has been accumulated after he turned age 65, the age where most Americans retire and start collecting Social Security. Warren Buffett's insane level of wealth has nothing to do with his investing skill. Ronald Read, he wasn't an insanely skilled investor either. And if we're honest with ourselves, neither are you or I. Ronald Read probably never made much more than minimum wage in his entire life, yet he accumulated more than $8 million, the same way that Warren Buffett accumulated his hundreds of billions. You see, Ronald Read was a buy and hold investor who invested small amounts of money into a diversified portfolio of blue chip stocks that he knew and understood well, and he left that money invested in them for a long period of time. Warren Buffett made his millions early, but the reason he has hundreds of billions of dollars is because he started investing at age 10 and is still at it in his mid-90s. You see, the secret to unlocking wealth and becoming a millionaire isn't investing skill, it's time. Something as simple as maxing out your Roth IRA for $7,000 per year from the age you start working at 18 until age 60. That alone would help you amass a fortune of over $2 million. But if you're a bit older and haven't started saving for your future, or you just feel like you're behind on your investing goals, this video here will help get you on track, securing your financial future. As Warren Buffett and Ronald Read showed us, the one truth about investing that will always remain is that the key to building wealth through investing is to do it as consistently as you can for as long as you can.